All right, let's take a look at the last scenario. That requires you to look at an already completed tax return and find the errors. Okay, so the information is providing you showing birth dates, copy of Social Security cards, etc. The information says it's for 2011, but pretend it's for this tax year. Pretend Charlie's birthday shows him to be 17 and Erica's shows her to be 15. So even though they show the birth dates for the two kids, just ignore what's on that information. So I have no way to fix it. Just pretend Charlie's 17 and Erica's 15. Okay? So the first question, what's wrong in the dependent section of the first page of the 1040? What Social Security number is entered incorrectly? What is the correct AGI? Which items from one of the W-2s wasn't entered? And which credit does the taxpayer qualify for but wasn't included on the return? Okay, so what we're going to do here is that we're going to, in D2L, it shows you this VITA Scenario 9 Part 1 and VITA Scenario 9 Part 2. Okay, so here, this 9 Part 1 is the information. Okay, and so if we click on that, it shows us various pieces. I've crossed some things out, but shows various pieces of information. Okay, this is Serena Livingston. She's not married, but she has her two children, Charlie and Erica. And this is their Social Security cards with their numbers on them. Then we have an intake sheet. This is the kinds of information that if you were at a tax preparer's office, they would have each client fill this out. So there's Serena and her information. She's a U.S. citizen. There's her address. There's her date of birth, okay, and her job title, the fact that she's not legally blind, she's not disabled, okay, that she is single as of December 31st. Here's the information about her two kids. Okay, just disregard this date of birth business. He's 17, she's 15. Okay, but the rest of this stuff all answers these questions here so that you will be able to go through the qualifying child and qualifying relative dependent charts and see if she can claim them. Here is one of her W-2s for Serena. This is her wages, her federal income tax withheld, and we've had a number of these for your exams. Okay, here's her other W-2. Here's where she got some interest. Again, just consider all of these documents just like you do for an exam. Just consider that these all belong to the current tax year that you're doing. Okay. Here she got some interest, $500. Okay. This is a copy of a check, and if she wants her refund to go directly as a direct deposit into her account, this needs to be on her tax return. So the first set of numbers on the bottom of a check is a routing number of that bank, Regional Bank and Trust, okay? And the second set of numbers is her actual account number. So if we were to take a look at a 1040, down here, the routing number and the account number is put there, and you would check off that this is a checking account if she wants her refund to be directly deposited. If she wants to get a paper check for the refund, then this part would not be filled out. she would just have her refund over here in 34, and line 35A would be her refund, and they would just send her a paper check. Okay. Okay, so you can review that information, and then you can look at this VITA Scenario 9 Part 2. And I also have a Form 8812 for Scenario 9. Okay, now these are 2019, but you should still be able to answer the questions that are there. So, like, you know, whose Social Security is wrong. So one of these Social Security numbers is wrong, and you can check it out, etc. Okay, there's her wages and her interest and stuff, and you can check that all out. Okay, and here's her routing and her account number, etc. So you can be able to see what is wrong with the return. Here is the 8812. Again, this is for 2019, but it would still be similar for 2020. So you should be able to see, be able to answer the questions by looking through that information and then tracing it to these forms, double checking everything as you go along. So unlike the Ashley return, that was the previous scenario number 8, where you really kind of had to do the return yourself to be able to answer the questions. Here, the return is done for you. You're just being the person who's double checking it. Okay. You would also have to see, are there any credits that Serena might have applied for and it wasn't included on the return? No forms, no numbers for that particular credit. And you could see if you think, we have learned fairly extensively about the child tax credit and credit for other dependents, the earned income credit, and the daycare credit, and which is also called the dependent care credit. We've also learned in class about education credits, such as the American Opportunity Credit and the Lifetime Learning Credit. So you could see if she qualifies for any of those credits before answering that question. Now, once you have completed answering all your questions on paper, that's when you will go into actually clicking on this VITA certification quiz. Okay, and that'll take you to the quiz, and you will answer the questions there. You already know the scenarios, you already know the questions. Sometimes the question is worded slightly different, but the answer is still going to be relatively apparent. Okay, so the question may ask, what is their filing status? Or the question may ask, can they claim head of household? Yes or no. Okay, or what is their filing status? And they give you multiple choices. Okay, so but once you've gone through all those scenarios and you've fully written in your notes about what your answers are, then you should be able to get in here and do well. Okay? However, you do need a score of 80. Now, the IRS only gives you 2 attempts. I give you more than 2 attempts, but it can get confusing trying to figure out which ones you got wrong. So if you get in there and you've really blown it, then I would say you seriously need to re-go over these videos. If you've only got a little bit low, then re-go over the things and just see if, over the scenarios, and see if maybe you weren't carefully following them out as far as filing status and who's a dependent, what kind of dependent, what kind of credits go with that. Okay. If you get the 80 or more, I put that in as 100 when I go to put these scores into D2L. I put that in as 100 if you get an 80 or better. If you don't get the 80, that's a 0. It's a pass-fail kind of thing. So you want to make sure you do a decent job. This isn't as many points as your projects, however. So if all you got time to do is the projects, then that is a higher number of points than this.